So hello everyone from Green-Mopeds in South West London. So today we're going to give you a static review of this bike, the ThElMoCo Ultra, also known as the Artisan EVC. We'll explain the differences as we go around the bike, but essentially it's a 45 mile an hour 125cc equivalent electric motorcycle, and we'll just run through the features and give you some idea about the bike itself, and hopefully it'll help you make an informed decision. So let's get to it. Okay, so I guess the first question is why do we actually have both the ThElMoCo and Artisan when they are identical bikes? Well, we were signed up with Artisan before the ThElMoCo came around, and we were actually taking the ThElMoCo for some of their other bikes. But one of the reasons is actually as simple as colour. So the Artisan EVC, for example, only comes in this storm grey, which is the same colour as the EV2000R there. Okay, whereas the ThElMoCo have decided not to offer the grey, but offer 5 other colours instead. So this rather sort of fetching cherry red is one. They do 2 shades of blue, which is a sort of navy blue and sky blue, and then a black and a white. So if it's one of those colours you really want, this is the brand to go for. If it's the storm grey, then it's Artisan. Okay, there are some other differences as well, which we'll come to at the end. But first, let's talk about the bike in general. So it's 1.9 meters long. It weighs 76 kilos without the battery. It's running on 12-inch wheels. Okay, so pretty standard, to be honest. It does have front and back discs, and as you can see here, it's got 2 leads because it's a 125cc bike, which means it is CBS, combined braking. So when you squeeze the brake lever, you get a shared amount of force going between the front and back wheels rather than ABS. Okay, it is 4 kilowatts, so that does put it up there with it's a little bit more than any NIU GTS Sport, for example. This one is 3.5 kilowatts, and this is a 4 kilowatts. What's interesting about this bike is actually that the motor is made by a company called QS. So QS are known for doing motors. They do 8 kilowatt motors in a hub, 12 kilowatt motors. So they are, a well-known brand for motors, just from hub motors. So you shouldn't be worried that it's not Bosch or a brand that you've actually heard of. They've matched it up with an LG 72 volt battery, 40 amp hours. Okay, it's quite a lump. Obviously, you can only have one. Interestingly, you charge it through that lead, but you connect it to the bike through that lead. Okay, removable very simply by taking the lead out and lifting it up. They've tied it up to a 8 amp charger, pretty compact, so you can easily take it with you. The charging time is about 7 hours from flat, but as we've said before, you don't typically run these things flat. You typically charge them if they're going to be, obviously if you need to charge them, you charge them, but otherwise you would typically charge them when they get to about 50% anyway, regardless. So it's best to keep them topped up than run them flat, but if you did run them flat, it would be about 6 to 7 hours. Okay. Although it's a sort of old sort of theme to the bike, sort of Lambretta style, they have matched it up with some sort of new technology, so LED lights, for example. If we put on the hazards, you can see, so LED lights at the front here, LED lights for the indicators. They've got a sort of halogen type bulb and then some LEDs as well, so they are sort of making it a little bit more modern. When it comes to the dash, they've also done that as well. So, for example, the Artisan EV2000R, that has got an analog dash, which doesn't particularly help you in terms of assessing range. This one is digital, but as we've said before, most of the time you just want to know what your range is, or even an estimation of your range, whereas this has got this digital sort of readout purporting to give you an indication of range, but what you'll see is that the voltage it also changes as you're using the bike. Okay, so it's not a definitive range. It's not telling you miles. You can get an indication of how many miles you've got left, but you'd have to sort of work it out based upon experience. Okay, here you've got the controls. So This button here is the one that takes it out of P. So obviously when it's in P, the throttle is dead, but now it's gone out of P, it will move. You've got 2 modes. So interestingly, they call it L and H here, and they call it 1 and 2 here. But L is 1, and as you can see, silent motor. It's saying 33 miles an hour. That's obviously without being on the road. So that will probably get you 28. And then in high mode, so we're looking at 55, 54, something like that. So that would probably be, you know, high 40s or 50, as the documentation says. But we'll be test riding this shortly. Other than that, the dashboard is pretty familiar with everybody, I'm sure. This is to put it into like a kill switch, if you like. So you're killing the throttle by using that. Okay. Also, it's got the other sort of traditional things. So it's got a USB port down here, bag hook, and it's also got a sort of not totally unique, but a little bit novel way of security protection, and that is by pressing this button here. You cover the key. So this is, in theory, this is going to, you know, make it hard for people to get into the actual key lock. But what they've done is they've matched up with this on the key itself, and then you sort of turn it, and then you can get back into the key like that. Okay. So obviously you can only get into the under the saddle using the key. Okay. So, I guess in summary then, L3 e-bike, 4 kilowatts, high 40s speed, 40-50 mile range. So what is the difference between the two? So ThElMoCo have gone for security in their sort of options. So they've added a data tag. So data tag is it's like it's a digital watermark, if you like, but it's using a transponder. So the police can scan your bike and work out who is the legitimate owner. So if it ever got stolen, they would be able to identify that this is actually your bike. So obviously the net of that is that you get lower insurance premiums. Okay, so that's what they've decided to add on to this bike. What Artisan have done is they haven't added a specific feature to the bike, but they are providing all of their bikes, not just Artisan branded, but the Coulters, the Horwins, with a 3-year breakdown cover. Okay, obviously you can add that to this bike if you didn't have it, or any bike. But so the difference in price of about £150, which is what the Artisan is, more than this, is essentially for that cover. Okay, as I said, so you could say, well, all right, I'll take the data tag option of ThElMoCo and then add breakdown cover, and if it's less than £150 for 3 years, then you've got essentially the same bike. Okay, so that is really the only difference. You can add windscreen, you can add the top box. Artisan add both for £200. You can add them individually as well if you wanted to from either company, but essentially it comes down to that. If it's the colour that you want and it isn't grey, then it's going to be ThElMoCo, and then you might have to add on 3 years of breakdown cover. If it's security you want, then by default it might be this one, but you could add on a data tag to the Artisan EVC as well. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. The price is, just to cover it off, it's 3152 for the Artisan and 2960 for this one. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. Any questions, please feel free to contact us at hello@green-mopeds.com, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel Green-Mopeds to see the forthcoming reviews of this bike and others. Thanks very much.